Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Notice is hereby given that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, the laws of 1975, notice of this meeting has been sent to all school offices, officially designated newspapers, filed with the Township Clerk, and posted in the Board of Education office 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Roll call vote, please. Roll call, please.
Certainly. Mrs. Asor?
Here.
Mrs. Austin?
Here.
Mrs. Berkowitz?
Here.
Mrs. Pintarelli?
Here.
Mrs. Sanande?
Here.
Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Rossini?
Here. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a couple of things. I always talk about the weather, so why not do it again tonight? You know what they say about March, in like a lion, out like a lamb? So we're at the home stretch of that, which is always good. Hopefully everything cooperates. The only other thing I want to mention is I think we've successfully completed CUSAC, which I talked about briefly last time. And I just, again, want to thank everyone and their efforts in successfully completing CUSAC. And we look forward to doing it again in 3 years. So it's only right around the corner. That's about it. We'll move to committee reports. Buildings and Grounds, Mr. White.
Nothing to report.
Communications and Policies, Mrs. Berkowitz.
Yep, we just had a meeting before this meeting, and we discussed several mandated policies that will have some revisions, and they'll be on the agenda with links with those revisions for the first reading for the next board meeting. There is one new mandated policy, the Spectator Code of Conduct for sporting events and any event that we have spectators. It outlines all the different, consequences for first offense, second offense, third offense, and so forth like that. So I just wanted to point that out. And then regarding communications, we're in the beginning stages of making some great modern updates to our website. Whole Drum now has monitors in their hallways showing different student of the month, game updates, and some different communications, so that's really nice to have. And also, we're working on culminating the culminating video for Woodside for the referendum, for all the work that's been done, and then eventually we'll have a video showing the whole process from beginning all the way to end.
Wow, that was a good meeting. I'm sorry I wasn't there. It sounds good. Thank you. That's great. Mrs. Sanande, Curriculum and Technology.
No update at this time. Our next meeting is in April.
Mrs. Pintarelli, Finance.
Yes. State aid figures were just released last week. Wonderful news. We received an additional $83,680. That's a 6% increase from last year. So we received $1,478,353 in state aid, but we were also hit with a debt service assessment of $50,000, which we've been hit every year with that. So that's a net total of about $1,400,000 to about $400,000. Yeah. So, and last year's state aid was $1,394,673. So, good news for us since we're up $83,000. Yep.
That's great. Thank you. I have nothing to report with regard to negotiations. And Mrs. Asor, Personnel?
Nothing besides our meeting May 6th.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, everybody, please note the committee meeting schedule at the bottom of the page. And with regard to public comments on agenda items only, again, I want to emphasize on agenda items only, the Rivervale Board of Education is committed to encouraging the citizens of Rivervale and employees of the Rivervale School District to speak directly to board trustees. In order to facilitate this communication, residents and employees are requested, 1, to sign in before speaking. 2, to maintain an appropriate sense of decorum. And 3, to limit their remarks to no more than 5 minutes. The board will also take under advisement the written comments and opinions of non-residents that are submitted to the board secretary. Being mindful of its responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of meetings, the board retains the right to rule on such matters as the speaker's right to address the board, as well as the appropriateness of the subject being presented. The board's decision in such matters is final. The board also reminds all members of the public that while it subscribes without reservation to the principle of keeping the community informed by policy and law, it cannot allow public discussion of personnel matters, nor can trustees comment on any current or pending litigation. If a matter concerning an employee of the Rivervale Public Schools is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal or the superintendent of schools by telephone, letter, or email. I will open the meeting to public comments on agenda items only at approximately 7:06 p.m. Anybody? Nope. Okay. Not seeing anyone here who wants to make a comment on agenda items. I'm going to close it at approximately 7:06 p.m. And I will move on to Mrs. Signori's report.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. So as we enter March, we look forward to our upcoming parent-teacher conferences. We just talked actually about enhancing and modernizing communication in our committee meeting right before this. And this does remain a key district priority for us, and it's also one of our board goals. So in alignment with this effort, the principals they've been sending out these newly revised principal newsletters, which look great. But in their last one, they sent out information to the parent community about signing up for these conferences, which are mid-March. So please be sure that you take a look and see how to get on. And if you get on and sign up through Genesis, and if you have any trouble, make sure you reach out to your schools for that. I also, in my March newsletter that just went out on Monday of this week, also just kind of reinforce the importance of parent-teacher conferences and sort of the vital role that they play in really fostering strong partnerships between the parents and our school. And again, it's another form of making sure we're communicating in a different way. Sometimes we think about communicating information out to the community, but it's reciprocal. We want information from parents during these conferences, and we want to be able to give information about how their children are doing. So please be sure that you sign up for one of them. They are March 11th through the 13th. We also offer an evening conference at each school in the event that a parent needs to take advantage of that time slot. And of course, if there's any questions, please make sure you reach out to your school principals for that. So thank you.
Moving on. Mrs. Ippolito.
Okay, thank you. Just as a reminder, thank you to those people who have completed their financial ethics disclosures. We have a couple people who have yet to file, so if you could get those in, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, just a reminder, New Jersey School Boards has workshops for the spring. I had sent that information out to you during the last meeting. If you're interested, let me know. We'll sign you up. Also, a reminder, the Pascack Valley Regional High School is arranging to have the regional board retreat on March 20th. I have received a couple of RSVPs from some of you. If you've reached out to the high school directly, please just let me know, and I'm trying to coordinate and help them out. But it is on the 20th. There's information in your packets again. It's at 6:30 at Pascack Valley. Also on the agenda, very exciting. We're renovating this building this summer. So we have the bid specs will be available and ready for anyone who wants to pick them up this Friday. And then the bid opening is going to be on the 2nd of April. And the goal is to award this project at our April 8th meeting. So that's very exciting. We're going to talk about some movement of offices. So for instance, I know we were in my office before and I have a big garbage can. So I am purging so that when I have to be relocated, I am not going to be carrying more than I need to. You may find me in there, but I'm going for a ride. Also, negotiations committee, we have negotiations this year with our custodial and maintenance staff. I will be sending out an email this week to inform you of some items, so please be on the lookout for it. It will be before Friday. And then also Finance Committee. This is wonderful. Thank you for all of your support and your help. Getting that additional state aid has been extremely helpful. And now we're going to start moving forward and preparing the tentative budget. So as a reminder, we will be presenting a tentative budget to the board on the 18th of March. The budget is due to the county office on the 19th. So from this moment on, I am working. I will be reaching out. I'm going to ask the Finance Committee if we could meet briefly after this meeting, just to give you a heads up on where we're going, because it is a quick turnaround. And other than that, I have nothing else to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, general resolutions G1 through G6. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions? Anything? Okay. Roll call vote then, please.
Certainly. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanande?
Yes.
Mrs. Pintarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Austin?
Yes.
Mrs. Asor?
Yes.
Mr. Rossini?
Yes. Moving on to business resolutions B1 through B13. Will somebody please move these resolutions?
I'll make.
And second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Discussion, questions?
I'd like to bring to the board's attention B9, that we are now at the point where we have to upgrade our servers. And so working with the Director of Technology, he is taking on yet another project during this school year to bring the entire district up to a more timely and sophisticated cloud infrastructure. So that is what this is on the agenda. And we work with the New Jersey School Board's co-op so that we can get a better price. So this is another example of our shared services.
Okay, that's great. And then, of course, B8 talks about what you were talking about before, about upgrading this building. So that's terrific. Anything else? Okay. Then a roll call vote, please.
Certainly. Mrs. Austin?
Yes.
Mrs. Pintarelli?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Asor?
Yes.
Mrs. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanande?
Yes, but I'll abstain from B12.
Certainly. Mr. Rossini?
Yes. And moving on to resolutions P1 through P10, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move P1 through P10.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I would just like to recognize Mrs. Hirsch, who's mentioned here, who's been the school nurse at Roberge for I'm not sure how long, and also, I forget the exact title, but the lead or head nurse for the district. Personally, my daughters went to Roberge, and she was a great help to both of them and to the family. As a board member, I remember her many hours put in, especially during the pandemic, both presenting at board meetings, sitting through long board meetings, and all of the work she did during the pandemic. So I just wanted to recognize her and congratulate her, and sad for us, but happy for her.
I would just like to say I was also saddened to see the announcement. My children went to Roberge, and I had a frequent flyer in kindergarten and first grade. And she was wonderful with her, always caring and sensitive. And I too, the work she did during COVID and the resource she was, and the guidance that she gave us was wonderful. So although I'm sad, I'm excited for her and I wish her best luck.
I'd also like to congratulate Mrs. Hirsch on her retirement. She's going to have to train whoever comes in for lunch duty because it is pure chaos, and we appreciate her and her patience with, all the absences and, spilled lunches and lunch mistakes. So we appreciate her, and best of luck.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I can tell. Again, always hard, but I'm always happy for people, when they have a second phase or move on. So it's tough for us, but congratulations to her. Anything else? Okay, roll call vote then, please.
Certainly. Mrs. Asor?
Yes.
Mrs. Austin?
Yes.
Mrs. Berkowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Pintarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanande?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Rossini?
Yes. Okay, now moving on to public comments on general items. The same rules would apply as we did for agenda items only, so I'm not going to reread it tonight. And I'm going to open to general items public at approximately 7:17. And is there anyone who wants to make a comment on general items? Okay, I'll close it at 7:17. Old business, anyone? You're like a game show contestant. I'm going to make you wait. All right, here we go. New contestant? I'm sorry, new contestant. Wow. New business?
Yes, I have something. Actually, I don't know if everybody here knows, but the Rivervale PTA is bringing an amazing program to Holdrum called the TREPS program. It's an entrepreneurial program where the kids create their own business plans and their own businesses, and then they're having a marketplace and they're selling their goods there. And I wanted to give a shout out to the Rivervale PTA, specifically Rosalie Booth, Alicia Fishbein, and Melissa Simon, who worked with Mr. Cody on bringing this program to Holdrum. But I also wanted to let everybody here know, in case you don't have kids in the district or at Holdrum, the marketplace is April 8th. So hopefully we'll have a short Board of Ed meeting, and you can go on over to the marketplace and see some of the great products and goods that the kids will be selling.
That's cool. That's great. Thank you. Anything else? Any other new business? Okay. So there being no other new business or old business, I think we have to go into closed session, right? So is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion. Oh,
I'll second.
All right. Thanks.
sorry.
Okay, we're going to go into closed session. We're not going to come out again. So thank you, everybody, for coming. And just thank you, period. Have a good night.